Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and hello yesterday, if I missed you. Okay, I'm in a slightly funny mood. I'll grant you that. Okay, welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live here at Jonny Lipsham Studios in Edinburgh, in Scotland, the glorious capital of the entire world. Hope everybody is doing well, and I apologize for having to cancel last week's show, and a big thank you to Johnny Gibe for sitting in for me. I very, very much appreciated him doing that. Some of you will remember that I talked about the week before about the storm that we had and how it had damaged my broadband cable. Well, it damaged specifically the cable coming in from the pole, the telegraph pole, into the house. And there's basically out the back in our garden over that way, at the back, there's a huge, great big fern tree that grew up basically around the telegraph pole. And then with the storm, it basically partly fell directly onto the cables. So basically the only thing holding up the tree and stopping it from crashing into our neighbor's house was the cables. So the first thing that they tried to do was they tried to get a guy to come and try and fix it at the cabinet end, and I was really annoyed by that because I told them, look, it is a problem with the line. It is nothing to do with the cabinet. 6 hours later, the guy comes back and says, I can't fix it. It's a fault on the line. And I said, yeah, I told you that. That is the report. That is the fault I reported. I did not report anything else. So anyway, they said, so we're going to send a tree surgeon round to deal with the tree and untangle the cable and everything else. So I was like, great. That'll be perfect. And a few days later, and it did take a few days, literally a few days. And unfortunately, that's kind of partly to do with pandemic and everything else. So anyway, tree surgeon comes round and cuts back a whole bunch of branches and chops the tree almost in half. And now the cables are free. And but they have noticeably sagged because they've been being yanked by the weight of the tree. So the cable is still damaged, but it is now freed up. So it is no longer in contact with the tree. And what was happening was, every time the tree was even ever so slightly moving, it was making friction with the cable and it was causing dropout errors. And so my internet was as flaky as a flaky pastry. So long story short, tree surgeon has freed up the cable. And so the next thing to do now is to get a new cable installed. Or at least the damaged section of cable to be repaired. That's the next step. So for the moment, we have reliable, stable broadband because the cable is free and not snagged up anymore. But it's nowhere near as fast as it was. I have pretty much just about enough bandwidth to be able to do this show in good quality. I wouldn't have done this show tonight if the quality was poor. So I had to think about it carefully today and decide, kind of, am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? What's the quality going to be like? So I did a couple of private tests, broadcasts, that, of course, nobody would have seen. So that's okay. You guys wouldn't have seen it. And basically, I watched them back to see what the quality was like. And so I decided to go ahead tonight. So here we are. I didn't really want to take another week away from you guys if I could avoid it. So that's kind of the situation that we're in now. So I'm just waiting on a cable engineer to go up the pole, which he can now get to because the tree is out of the way, and replace a section of cable. And then hopefully internet will go back to the way it was before. So that's kind of where we are. And none of it is going to cost me a penny, which is brilliant. And already we have donations, and I haven't even started. So a big thank you to Kyle Jadruziak for $5. And he says, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Mike Neighbor, my good friend over there, donates $10. Thank you so very much, mate. I appreciate it a lot. You guys are awesome. So let's go and take a quick look and see who is here. Mike Neighbor was first in the door, followed by Bill Shep and Tim, my good friend, Tim Flansbaum over at Tim Talks Audio. I think I probably butchered your last name there, so I apologize for that. I know what it's like. People butcher my last name as well, believe it or not, but they do. So I apologize. Kyle is here. Lorenz is here. Hey, Lorenz, not seen you for a while. Good to have you here. Let's see. Thomas Melkerson over in the Philippines is here. He says, good morning. Good morning to you, my friend. I hope you are doing well over there. Let's see. Who else do we have? Waveform Lab is here. He says, hi, Johnny. I said I was going to check in on your Facebook post. Asked if there was going to be a topic. Yes. Well, there kind of is. There are several kind of bits and pieces that I want to talk about. So we're kind of going to start off by talking about the new update to Studio One, just released just a few days ago. Studio One 4.6.2, which fixes a few things and has made a few minor changes, which is also very, very cool. So I hope everybody is now using that update. And as noted, and I think this doesn't apply to any of you here on my show, and that is the 4.6 is the last version that will work on Windows 7, and I believe Mac OS 10, 13, and lower. It will not work on after that. So ideally, for any future versions of Studio One, updates, upgrades, the works going forward for henceforth into the future. You'll need to be on Windows 10, and you'll need to be on Mac, I think Catalina, and I can't remember the one before it. Whatever the one before Catalina and Windows 10, you'll be good. If you're on Windows 8, get yourself onto Windows 10 ASAP. Is what I would suggest you do. If you're on Windows 7, you should already be on Windows 10 because support for Windows 7 at Microsoft ended in January. And so, yeah, it's important that you do that straight away. Waveform says, my name is Bill. I shall try and remember that. I shall try and remember that your name is Bill. Thank you very much, mate. Love Audio Paul Weber says, hey Johnny, hope you're doing well. Paul, thank you very much, and I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the show. Craig Bratcher is here as well, who says, hello from the chaotic USA. Well, you know what? It is pretty chaotic here in the UK as well. Much of the same kind of things that you guys are experiencing in terms of very vocal protests and all of that. Over the brutal murder of George Floyd. You're seeing what you're seeing over there is kind of happening over here as well, because, you know, we have our own issues with racism here in the UK, and arguably our racism kind of predates yours because we invented the slave trade, pretty much. And we had a massive empire that covered, probably about 2/3 of the globe prior to World War I. And, you know, we invented a lot of things that are pretty horrific. Like the idea of concentration camps was not a unique, wonderful, glorious idea that the Nazi Germany invented. No, they actually borrowed that from us, from the British, during the Boer War, which took place in South Africa. Pretty much, we invented the whole idea of concentration camps, and Adolf Hitler basically took that idea and amped it up a notch. So, yeah, so we have our own issues with racism, and it is abhorrent, it is hideous, it is awful, it is wrong, it is immoral, it is sin, is the way I would describe racism of any form. And that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it, because really my show is not a political show, but I wanted to kind of get that out there so that you guys know where I stand on it, and where I stand on what you guys are seeing in the States and what we're seeing here in the UK as well. I think it's pretty important that it is talked about, because it is pretty much affecting everybody. So that is pretty much the end of that subject, and I'm going to kind of leave it there on that point. But we have 22 people here, which is amazing, and we do have some new people in here, like Craig Bratcher, for example, who is new to my show. David SJ is here. David, good to see you, my friend. I'm glad you're here. And Paul Weber is here as well. You guys are kind of new to my show, and I appreciate that you're here. Okay, we are 12 minutes into the show, and we have 22 people here, which is fantastic. So, I do have a few things that I want to talk about, because I've had some questions on this over the last few days. So, one of the things we're going to take a brief look at is creating samples in sample 1 and then bringing them in to Impact, so you can build an Impact kit. Now, you can very easily and very directly build an Impact kit within Studio One. You don't have to use sample 1, but the fact that sample 1 is there and you can pretty much manipulate, you can record directly into sample 1, and then you can play about with that sample, manipulate it, do whatever you like to it, and then once you have it, you can drag that sample straight across into Impact. It's fantastic that, that kind of interoperability between Impact and sample 1. And you can reverse that flow as well. So, if for example, you have a drum set in Impact and you really don't like the sound of the snare drum and you wish that snare drum was pitched a little bit lower. Now, obviously, in Impact, you can adjust the pitch. But let's say you want to kind of finagle it a little bit more. So you can take that and you can dump that into sample 1, and you can use some of the tools that are in sample 1, and then you can save that, and then you can bring it back into Impact and replace that pad. It's really, really cool. So we're going to kind of look at that at least a little bit. I don't use it an awful lot. It's not something that I use all the time. And I know for some people it is something that they just use a lot. And it may well be that you guys are more familiar with this than I am. And if that's so, that's great. You guys can just sit back and watch me mess it up. And that will be cool. But for the rest of you that aren't really that familiar with how sample 1 works, now that it has been lovingly restored, and they've given it a lot of love for Studio One 4.5 and above, and so it'd be really cool if we take a look at that. So let's jump on over to Studio One, and we'll do that. I have to bear in mind that at this point I cannot see the chats. I have 2 monitors, but I don't have the chat over here. I probably should think about, maybe popping out the chat and dumping it over here with next to OBS. I should probably do that. All right, so what do we have here? We have sample 1. Here is sample 1. The cool thing is if you click on the Presonus logo here, you can change the color. So you can have whatever color you really want. You can have white, you can have green. You can be kind of fairly garish. You've got a limited selection of colors, but at the end of the day, for me, color is kind of a secondary thing. It's not kind of like a be-all and end-all. It's not. I'm not going to stop using sample 1 just because it doesn't have my color in it. It doesn't have purple, for example. What if I want to have sample 1 purple and it's just not purple? I'm not going to not use it because of that. But as I say, the cool thing is you can record into sample 1. You can map it right across the keyboard. You can play it like a keyboard, like an instrument. It's really good fun, actually. So if I hit the record button here and change this to just input left so that we've got just my voice, I can record this and then I can map it across the whole keyboard, and you can hear me singing like Barry White or like one of the Chipmunks. It's very, very handy to do that. So let's go la. There we go. And now what I can do is I can go to wave, and I can grab these triangles and I can trim it And the cool thing is I can now go to my recorded sample over here. I can right click it and I can go trim sample. Bing. We've got rid of all of that dead space. And then I can go to mapping and we can see that it is automatically mapped itself to C1. But let's make it, let's see, C3. So now I've moved it to C3. Let's make sure we've got this record enabled. La la la. There we are. La la la. There's my note. So let's go and map this down a little bit. Down to C0, and then we'll take this one up to C6. There we go. So la 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 There you go. See, you can play chords. You can, I mean, you can do all sorts of crazy things if you really want to. There you go. You can have hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of fun. Trust me. I've done it and wasted vast quantities of time not doing what I should be doing, like the ironing, the cooking, and the cleaning. I have for sure absolutely done that. Now, one of the things you can do is you can play around with all the pitching, the tuning, and you can affect it. You can add effects, like you could have a reverb. Blah, 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 blah. We could slam in a delay. Everyone should recognize that little piece of music. And then we can also, if I move this to one side here, and I have done this in a video a while back, but for those of you that have never seen this, this is quite cool. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to pin sample 1. Would have been helpful if I'd done that. Okay, let's get impact over here. Just about fits on the screen. One day we will get round to making these resizable. One day. Who knows when that will ever happen, but you never know. All right, so let's take our sample and drag it to C1 here. Blah, blah, blah. Now, at the moment, I think we're playing my other channel. So, yeah, I think we probably are. So if I mute sample 1, I have to go and find... Oh, hang on. I know what I'm not doing. Just close that for a second. Turn that one on. La, la, la. La la la. Now the only thing you notice there is that it's taken my raw sample. It hasn't actually taken my. It hasn't taken my sample with all of the fancy effects that I did. There is a way to do that, and I just need to try and remember how it is that you can do that without having to save it. Let me see. Is there a way to do it? I'm not sure if I can remember if there is a way to do this. Without actually saving it, I don't know. So if I was to save this and call this, oh, hang on, cancel that. Store instrument and effects preset. I could do that, or just store the preset. Let's just store the preset, and we'll call this La. And what I'm trying to remember is how you... Because at the moment we've just got... La, 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 la. That is just the... La, la, la. That's just the raw sample. But what we really want is... We want the sample on impact to play as well. You know, we want to be able to go... Hang on. Why is it not playing? Why is it not playing? Hang on. What's going on here? Uh-oh. Something very strange has just happened. Why is it not playing? I've got it recorded enabled, so it should be playing. And we're connected, so why is this not playing anything at all now? That should be making lots of sound, and it is... Oh, is it muted? It's muted. That's why. Because I had it muted. Duh! There we go. So, yeah, over here is the raw sound. And what I would like is that sound. I can't quite remember how to move it across. But yeah, if you want to just drag in raw samples, you can do. I just can't remember how on earth you... Because I'd like to print this sample in sample 1. There must be a way to do it. There must be a way to do it. Maybe if I drag preset from here. No. Maybe I'll do that. No. No. Huh. Must be a way to do it. There must be a way to do it. Unless I go and... Can I do that? Nope. There must be a way to do it, and I just don't know how to do it. I can't remember how you do it. I can't remember how to do it, but I'm pretty sure that there is absolutely a way where you can actually do all the processing you want to do on your sample and then drag it over to your pad. Instead of just drag in the raw sample, because all I did there was just drag in the raw sample. There must be a way. There must be a way to be able to do it. I know that says there copy external samples, but it's grayed out. Maybe if I do edit sample, is it grayed? Still grayed out? Yeah, still grayed out. No. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. There must be a way to do it. And I'm just going to pop over to you guys and see if you know how to do it. Go to the Wave tab. Maybe if you looked in your chat. Yeah, I can't see the chat whilst I'm in Studio One. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Select Wave tab. Low ends with the $5. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. And I've lost a lot of people because we did have 22 and now we got 16. Sorry about that. Let's see. Houston, we have a problem. Yeah, go to the Wave tab. Yeah, that's kind of what I was doing. Or at least that's what I thought I was doing. Let's go back to the Wave tab. Uh-huh. Is it grayed out still? Yeah, that's still grayed out. And that's still the same thing. Blah, 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 blah. That doesn't do anything either, other than zoom in on the sample. Okay, hang on just a second, guys. Hang on just a second. Let's do this. Let's go pop that out. So you can create and adjust all patch wave parameters in sample 1, save it and drag the patch into presence, and it works as a presence patch. Yeah, I was wanting to do it in a kit. I was wanting to do it in impact, not in presence. That be the issue here, is that I'm trying to remember. There is a way to do it, and I just can't remember how to do it. Create and adjust and edit all our wave parameters in sample 1 and drag it into presence. Yeah, I'm trying to drag it into Studio 1 is what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do. And I just can't remember how to do it. Because I've edited this now. So I've actually edited my sample, and I want to be able to drag this. And I've saved it as well. So how do I drag preset from here? Well, I'm trying to drag it. Nothing's happening. And it won't let me drag it. So this doesn't appear to work. And I don't know why it doesn't appear to work. Because I actually want my edited sample, not my raw sample. I want this. That's what I want, and I don't appear to be able to do it. And that is what is annoying me. Because I'm absolutely certain there is a way to do this, and I just can't remember how you do it. Right-clicking the wave does nothing. I know I can already do this. Alright, I already know I can do that. But that just gives you the la 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 la. That doesn't give me this. La 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 la. That's my raw sample. Okay, and I'm trying to get with the delay and the reverb. I just can't remember how you do it. I'm having one of those days where I just can't remember how you do it. Because I'm definitely in this wave tab. And I thought I popped out the chat here. Yeah, I can't remember how to do it, guys. I'm really sorry. I thought I could. How can you have multi-pitch samples in one impact pad? Is it possible to do what you're looking for? Yeah, well, I'm not really wanting to do that at the moment. I'm just wanting to get one single note, but with the effects from sample 1 into impact. At the moment, this is just the raw sample, okay? With these effects, there appears to be no way to print these effects to the sample and then bring it into impact, which is interesting, to say the very least. I would have thought that you could do that. And I just don't know how to do it. I'm pretty sure you could as well. I'm pretty sure that was the whole point of the redesign of sample 1, was so that you could actually do this. And, you know, what's the point of having a delay and a reverb and everything else here if you can't actually then take them into something like presence or impact? But I can't seem to get it to work. Impacts doesn't have effects. Yes, I know it doesn't have effects, but I want to print these effects here to this sample and then bring that into here so that this that sample sounds like that one. So I want to print these effects to this waveform here, my sample, then bring my sample into here so it plays those effects printed to it. That's what I'm trying to accomplish, and I just don't recall how to do it. But yes, you can have multiple samples on an impact for, you know, if you're using impact as a drum kit and you've got multi-layered samples of kick drums and snare drums for different velocities and stuff. But yeah, that's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is be able to make this not sound like this. Because this is my raw sample. That's my affected sample. And I want my affected sample over here. And I can't get it to work. So anyway, that pretty much ends that because I can't get it to work. And you guys are leaving in your droves, which is fun. So I'm sorry I couldn't get that fully to work. I apologize. It is what it is. Let me get back over here and restore the chat. So sorry about that. Waveform Lab, Bill says you'll have to bounce sample 1 on a track with effects and then drag into an impact pad. Yeah, but that seems really a long way round of doing it. But that's okay. That's fine. I will, you know, when I get to work tomorrow, I will ask. I have a hotline to the developers anyway, so I can probably say, hey, is it possible to do this? Or am I missing a step? And if it's just me missing a step, that's fine, because next Sunday I can say, hey, here's how you do it. And I was doing it all wrong. And that's fine. I don't mind that. All right, so we got half an hour left of the show, so why don't we get to your questions? Because we have dropped like flies from 22 down to 14. Which is not much fun, I will tell you that right now. It would have been nicer if all of you guys could have stayed, but unfortunately you didn't because I was too busy faffing. So, can you drag samples from impact pads to sample 1, reverse of what you attempted? Yeah, that's one thing I'm pretty certain you can do. So let's go and do that. So if I open up sample 1 and impact again, and let's clear the board. And let's see. Let's open up something different here. Let's say let's say my SSD kit, which for whatever reason is not. There we go. Let's see if I can get this kick drum let's get this kick drum over here into sample 1. Can I do it? It doesn't look like we can. I thought we could. Let's see. That's interesting. Replace sample, add sample, show in Explorer. Yeah, it doesn't look like you can directly do that. I'm being proved wrong on every front here tonight, because I absolutely was certain you could drag something from impact into sample 1. I was absolutely certain you could. But I'm not finding that you can. Play one shot, play loop, clear bank, clear pad, rename, show in Explorer, add sample. Doesn't look like you can. Because I'm clicking and trying to drag it and nothing's happening. That's interesting. Wonder if I can do that. No. Curious. Okay, I think we might have discovered a couple of feature requests here. I think it would be pretty good if we could print a sample in sample 1 and then drag it into impact to use to build an impact kit. So, you know, if I wanted a snare with delay and or whatever with reverb and then bring it into an impact kit, I can do it all. I can manipulate it all in sample 1 and then bring it into impact. And then likewise, just be able to take, you know, different things from impact, bring it into sample 1 and do something with it. That'd be nice. So maybe that's something to add to feature requests. But I was pretty certain I could click and drag and this would go over to sample 1, but it doesn't. But you can take a sample from sample 1 and bring it into impact. That's one thing you can do. But it doesn't look like it's reversible. Which I'm a little bit surprised about, to be honest. Because I thought these two were designed to basically have this kind of symbiotic relationship. Certainly that was what I thought was the case, but I'm clearly being proved monstrously wrong tonight, and that's fine. That happens. Sample 1 is processing internal effects in real time. The effects are not embedded in the sample. I know that. And impacts has no effects. I know that too. What you attempted will work with presence. Yes, it probably will, but that's not what I was trying to do. What I was trying to do was take my sample in sample 1 with the effects that were in it, as you rightly point out, are being processed in real time. It would be very cool if I could print those real-time processed effects to my sample in sample 1 and then drag it directly to impact. Now, I could probably, granted, I could just save the sample in sample 1, find it in Explorer and drag it in from Explorer into a pad in impact. I could do it that way round, but to me that seems like a long way round to do it. If I can take my sample, manipulate it, do whatever I want with it, and then print that inside sample 1, and then take my printed sample inside sample 1 into impact. That's kind of what I was trying to do. So it may well be that there is a feature request there. And we'll have to see. But it doesn't look like you can do the reverse either. I thought you could. So that's two things that I thought you could do in Studio One. It does not look like you can currently. So I'll have a chat to my colleagues tomorrow and find out what the story is. And it may well be that they'll say, hey, you're just doing it wrong, and this is how you need to do that. In which case, I will show you that next week, or I'll make a video about it this week. So one or the other will happen on that point. Let's see. So yeah, otherwise I would have to just basically bounce it. Bounce the sample 1 on a track just by pressing a key and doing it that way. Could do that and then drag that to impact. That is definitely one way to do it, but it's kind of like it's two steps, and I was hoping to be able to just do the whole thing in one step, but it is what it is. Kelly Winters is here. Hey Kelly, good to see you, buddy. He is late to the party. Don't worry about that. That's fine. Not a problem. Lauren says, I don't use that feature, but I've seen it done. Okay, well, that's interesting to know. But yeah, I think it would be intensely logical if sample 1, using the real-time effects and any of the other manipulations that you can do in the GUI of sample 1, if you could print all of that when you save it. I mean, obviously, when you save the preset, it saves the preset, and all of those are instantly recallable. But if you could actually print those to the sample inside sample 1, to me, that would be awesome. So maybe that's the next thing. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, to be honest. That's my honest answer. So can you just Control Alt B and bounce to a new track? Yes, I certainly could, but that's not what I was trying to accomplish. I was trying to accomplish doing it all in one without having to bounce it to a new track and then drag it in, because that's like an extra step. Now, I'm all, I'm the last person to say, hey, you just need to do an extra step. And that's, and I'm the last person to complain about such things, because sometimes that is just the way it is. And sometimes you do just need to take that extra step. And normally I am totally fine with that. But it would be very cool if you could just do it in, make all your adjustments to your sample in sample 1, make, what is a perfectly ordinary logical sound like somebody singing, and turn it into the weirdest sound possible, print that, and then drag that to an impact kit, and then build up a kit of weird and wonderful sounds that you've created in sample 1. That would be really, really cool. But doesn't look like we can do that yet, at least. So there you go. that ends the, that ends that. That didn't work out quite as I planned, I will admit. Because I was absolutely certain that I could create my sample, edit it in sample 1, and then drag it to Impact. But the only thing that gets dragged is the raw sample. It's just a shame. It is a shame. But yeah, I will talk to the guys at PSL and see what can be done about that. So we'll see. Anyone else got any other questions? Otherwise, we will just call it a night here. I would rather not. I'd rather carry on until 1 o'clock, which is when we normally finish. I would normally make this an hour-long show. So yeah, that would be nice if we could keep going. Turn on the bat signal. Yeah, Jonny did a great job for me last Sunday, doing the show for me last Sunday. So, you know, he has his well-deserved weekend off, frankly. So, not going to get Jonny Gibe in on this. That's not to say we couldn't get Jonny on this, because we can. We can. But, yeah. I wouldn't want to disturb him on his weekend off. Bill Shep says, I would like to be able to copy one impact group directly to another, like A to B or C. I'm not sure whether you can do that, actually. I don't think you can do that. You mean like a whole 16 pads of one particular group, copying that to another group? I'm not sure you can do that yet. Let's see. Tim says, other than this, what have you been working on? I've been working on a lot of top secret stuff, which I can't talk about. That has kept me very, very busy. Support is busy because we have thousands of new Studio One registrations every day. And so, you know, they all want to know how you do this, how you do that, how you do this, how you do that. And, you know, a lot of it is kind of getting started stuff. So they are kind of dominating support tickets at the moment. And that's cool. It's keeping me busy. It's keeping me in a job, keeping me employed. I have a fantastic team that I work with, which is brilliantly managed by Brian Meisner, who is one of the coolest people I know. He and I have been friends for a couple of years, and now he's my boss. So that's cool. Bill at Waveform says, why not do what you wanted to do and go to presents? It's much more useful, except for the lack of outputs. The reason why I don't want to do it in presents is because my intent is to create samples in sample 1 and build an impact kit out of it. So it's not that I'm well aware that it does work in presents. I've seen it done, and I have the presents editor as well. So, you know, I can go and, you know, play about with it in presents editor as well. So I can do all of that. And it does work. You're absolutely right. But it doesn't work currently for impact, and I think it would be really, really useful to be able to manipulate the heck out of something in sample 1 and then build a kit out of it. So yeah, that was kind of my rationale for not wanting to use presents. I understand why you're mentioning that. Yes, I am open for any topics. So Kelly, please do tap in your question. Bill Shep says, yes, a whole group, so you could combine from a few default sound sets. I don't think you can do that yet. So that's 3. Let's have 3 feature requests here. David says, have you been watching Dave's Does Pro Tools Still Suck series? Yes, I have. And it's actually really good because, you know, he is actually getting to do a mix in Pro Tools. And it is interesting. His kind of the way it's working out for him and the points that he's raising about Pro Tools, I do think it's pretty funny. The way Pro Tools will just suddenly put, right in the midst of what you're doing, it will shut down the audio engine and a message will pop up saying, "You have run out of memory." And then you go look at your task manager, or you go look at your performance meter and you go, "No, I haven't." And you realize, actually, it's not the computer that's run out of memory, it's Pro Tools that has gone, "I can't cope with this anymore." And you're just like, okay, so this has become, Pro Tools is the industry standard DAW that has Alzheimer's. Not really that surprising, actually, when you consider how old Pro Tools is, that it has Alzheimer's. But there again, you could say the same about Cubase. Because Cubase is probably a little bit older than Pro Tools. So, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, and the comments are hilarious. Kelly says, "Is the Atom device a PreSonus product?" Yes, it is. And can you talk about some high-level things that you can do with it? I don't have one. I don't have one. I was not on the beta for it. And I have not been involved in any way, shape, or form with its development. But yes, it is a PreSonus product, and it is one of our best-selling products. It's fantastic. It's a very clever piece of kit. I hope that I will be able to get my hands on one in the not-too-distant future, because we do get support tickets for them every now and then, and because I don't have one, I can't really test any customer issues that they have that they have with it. Waveform Lab says you can't build impact kits with effects, filters, LFO, etc. on the samples by using sample 1. I ran into that brick wall already. Yes, I know that. Because I know that impact doesn't have any of those effects. But what I was hoping for was that you could print those effects in sample 1 and effectively create a new rendered sample out of those real-time effects in much the same way that when you are in the arranger view in Studio One, you can print your effects to the track. I was hoping that you could do that with sample 1, because I know that there are other sampling products out there that absolutely can do this. So it can be done, because there are other products out there that do this and have done for a long time. So, it would be very cool if you can do that in sample 1 and print it so that it becomes a brand new sample inside of sample 1 that you can just then drag as a rendered sample into Impact. And therefore you are playing a new sample. You're not playing the sample with real-time processed effects, which obviously you cannot do in Impact because there are no real-time effects in Impact, because it doesn't have any. But if you can render those in sample 1, and so when you drag, what you drag across into Impact is a rendered sample, then you would be playing those effects anyway. Sample 1 does not print effects on the samples. I know, we have just discovered that. I know, they are all done in real time in sample 1 and present. I am well aware of this. This is why I'm saying it should be a feature request that we could do this, that this workflow should be a feature request for the future. That's my view. Feel free to beg to differ on that. That's okay. Moving on. Bill Shep says, feature request. Icon on tracks. Allow third-party MIDI tools to be added to note effects. Allow saving presets for separate sections of the FAT channel independently. Those are all really good. I think you will find that the icons on track thing is already a feature request in answers.presonus.com. So go and add your vote to it. And anybody else who is here tonight in the show, go and add your weight to that as well if you think it's something that you would like to see. Allow third-party MIDI tools to be added to note effects. I don't know if there is a feature for that in Answers. So if there isn't, go and create one. But for those 1, 2, 3. For those 3 feature requests, make each one an individual feature request in Answers rather than just having one feature request that has those 3 in it. Because if you separate them out, then people can vote on each individual component if you want to. That would be cool. Jonny Gibe is here. Jonny deserves a chord. There we go. And he has donated $50 to the cause. Thank you so much. That is awesome. I appreciate it, buddy. Welcome, Jonny. We were just talking about you, actually, because I stumbled upon probably what should be a feature request. To be able to render a sample that you create in sample 1 or you bring into sample 1 and then you manipulate with the real-time effects inside sample 1. It would be really cool if you could actually render those effects inside sample 1 to create a new rendered sample which you can then drag into Impact and build an Impact kit using those rendered samples. So I think that would be a really, really good little feature request for the future. So we'll have to see about what happens with that. So let's see, what else do we have here? Jonny Gibe and Tim are chatting away. I'm going to take a swig of tea and then we're going to finish up in probably about a few minutes. Okay, cool, Bill. Excellent. You voted on the icons request and you created the other ones last week. Excellent. So all you need to do now really is just campaign amongst the Facebook groups for votes on those feature requests, and just direct people to, when you post something in Facebook about your feature requests, make sure you make sure you have a link for each one of those in your post in Facebook, and then people can go and check out those 3, and then they can decide if they're going to vote on it or not. Old School is here. Joined late. Hello, both Johnnies. You have the best Studio One channels. Well, we appreciate that very much. Thank you. That's very kind. That's very kind indeed. Appreciate that a lot. So any more questions before we wrap up tonight's show, where I attempted to show something which kind of worked but kind of didn't, unfortunately. But I did kind of run into something that should be a feature request, I think. So yeah, it would be very, very cool to be able to do that. So I will pass that on down the line and we will see. That's fine. Waveform, no problem. Take care. All right, folks, we got 5 minutes to go. If there are no more questions, I'm going to end the show here. But thanks, guys, for coming. And I am sorry that our little look at Sample 1 and Impact kind of it kind of derailed a little bit. So I'm sorry about that. But next week, we will have a few more different things that I can show you, because I've got a few things that I'm working on, a few things brewing that we can talk about. So I guess we'll leave it there. And I will see you all on Wednesday over at Home Studio Trainer for Songwriting Simplified. Jonny and I will have a whole bunch of cool stuff for us to talk about songwriting-wise. Kelly says, Burlap Studios Facebook page hit 100 likes today. Woohoo! That's great news. That also deserves a little fanfare. There you go. Congratulations on hitting 100 likes. I can remember when I hit 100 likes, and it was just the best feeling ever. My Facebook page has grown a lot slower than my YouTube channel, which is a bit of a shame, but it is just kind of, I actually started the channel first and then started the page kind of as a bit of an afterthought, and then I haven't really talked about it too terribly much. But there it is. So thanks a lot, guys, for coming, and thanks for kind of bearing with me whilst I kind of discovered quite by accident that the very thing that I thought you could do, you can't actually do, and it really is a feature request. But hey, at least we found it's a feature request, and it is something that would be great to see being able to be done in Studio One. So I will pass that over to the guys over in Hamburg, and we'll see what they do with it. It may well be added to some future update sometime. Who knows? All right, guys, I will see you all on Wednesday. Bye for now. Where's my end button? I forgot where my end button is. I always do this. Good night, everybody.